Yes, people, welcome back to Football Heritage TV. I'm well, Lee is well, Luke is well. The England under-21s look absolutely abysmal. They are not well. They are 2-0 down. And if anyone cares, in the World Club Cup, it's currently Real Madrid 1, Al Hilal 1, for anyone that gives a shit about that pre-season tournament, which I found really difficult to watch earlier. Luke, Lee, gentlemen, happy Wednesday. How are we? Are we good?
Yeah, I'm all good, mate. I'm all good. How are you?
I'm always well. I'm always well. That's my go-to line. Lee,
Is that because Ange's gone?
Yeah. I'll be honest. I have found a new love for Tottenham since Ange has gone. I can't lie. But Lee, you weren't an Ange fan either, were you? So you're happier now with Frank, or you? The side tells us everything. The side was
listen, I just wanted more consistency out of the guy. I wanted more, adaptability, etc. So I'm not unhappy that he's gone. I'm happy that we've got a new manager. It is what it is. We move on and we look to next season, really, for me.
Yep. Yeah, and listen, he's here. Thomas Frank. Everyone was having panic attacks, weren't they? Going, can't believe he's on holiday. Damn, him and his family needing a break. But he has had a holiday. He's back, and Spurs dropped. To be fair, I liked it. There was no nonsense with it. Some of these videos, it's a little bit like a cinematic production. They just dropped the video. First thoughts, seeing Frank at the training grounds, it looked natural, lads. Are we all happy? Is today a good day, or just here we go again? Where are we at, Luke? What's going on?
I think it was very weird, just because obviously you're so just used to associating it with Brentford. But yeah, I had no doubts from a communication point of view. He would come across, his interviews would be good. His press conferences would be good. He talks very well. So I had no doubt about it, that would be good. But yeah, I like it. It's a new era. So we seem to have them every couple of years, but let's see how this one kicks off.
But this is the new era. This is the one. There's never going to be another one. This is it, lads. And just quickly before I go over to Lee, guys and girls, this man above me, this side, which would be my left and your right, I reckon, is 128 away from 1,000 subscribers. I can't have that. It is too close. It's too close. Please smash that subscribe button. I've put the link in right now. Spotlight on Spurs. I've also pinned it. We're not ending until this man gets to 1,000. And just so you know, for a YouTuber, getting to your first 1,000 is huge. It is. It's something you never think you're going to do when you start. You don't think there'll possibly be 1,000 people that either like me or hate me enough to subscribe to me, but Luke's managed to find over 870 that hate him, which is brilliant. So let's get a few over there that like him. The link is in there, and I'll be monitoring that. So please smash that button. Lee, it is a new era. I'm not one that subscribes to rebuilds. I don't like this term. I find it all a little bit wishy-washy. Maybe this is the copium. I just think something feels. You're gonna laugh. Something feels different. Does something feel different? Vinay and Levy look like they're on a Tinder date, talking about red wine, holding each other's hands. Thomas Frank's talking about the sunshine and going unbeaten at home and all these types of things. Does it feel different, or am I just a deluded old man? You're on mute.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
But isn't it the same every time we have someone new come in, though, right? You get that feel that you deep down. It's a bit different this time because we actually won a cup last season, which is unheard of. So we're all in a bit of a up and down moment. But we're in this limbo era in the summer where all we want is transfers coming in. We've got a new guy coming in, and we've got this little ball of hope inside us that is like, this time it's going to be different, right? This time. It's not a win now manager. It's not a guy that everyone says has got gung ho tactics. We've now got what we think we've wanted, which is a coach. There is a lot of people out there that are still like on the fence about this guy because he's only ever managed at Brentford, all right? That's his level at the moment. But as I said, you've got to be hopeful because everyone's got to take that next level step, right? Tottenham haven't taken it yet. We haven't taken it with the way that we do our transfers and stuff like that. And now Frank's got to take it. For me, he's, as I've said on other channels, for me, Frank is getting the same treatment from me that Ange did when he came in here, right? He's very well regarded as a coach. I get that. A lot of his peers think of him in quite high regard. If he's that good, then now's the time to step up and show us what you're made of, right? He's going to get the same treatment as any other manager that comes in. I'm not going, oh my God, he's going to be amazing. He's going to coach X, Y, and Z. Let's just see how it goes. We just have to be patient. No expectations in the first season when you come into a big club.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because we talk about ourselves as a big club, but like you said there, Lee, we look, I'll come to you on Lee's point. We always go, oh, can he step up? Well, why are we judging managers against that when we can't step up? Like that's a great point. We don't act like a big club, so why are we so concerned about Thomas Frank and whether he can step up?
Because we're European champions.
I tier two European champions, right?
Leave the tier 2 out. We're just European champions.
Yeah, okay. All right.
No, I completely agree, and I'm one of them. I'm the most optimistic, and I'm sitting there going, "We're going to change." I've heard the interview. He said the words, "We're looking at all these players that we're going to change," and then I get to the end of the transfer, and they go, "He fooled me again. Fooled me again." So. Yeah, it is one of them. That is the only worry for me in terms of Frank, is just going to that next level. I think if he would have played a couple of years in Europe, say with Brentford, then I think everyone's kind of would have been a little bit, that it had been less than the expectation. But maybe the fact of winning a trophy last season, maybe that's taken the pressure off a little bit. Because I remember when Ange first come in and done loads of changes against Fulham, everyone was up in arms going like, we can't be giving away competitions because we don't win them anyway. Whereas this time, like, maybe he's got a little bit more of, the fans are not going to be, obviously we're all desperate to keep winning trophies, but it was only last year. So I think maybe he's going to have that bit of time, and then he might have a bit more patience with the fans might give him a little bit more time to kind of see where we are because of that.
Yeah. I mean, guys, he comes across really well though. Like, and I think, you saw the interview yesterday, like the Vinay, Levy, love, cringe thing, which I thought there was some really good bits in it, which it was like, yes, this is what I wanted to hear. But also the bits where you go, well, clearly Vinay's told you, Daniel, that you need to do this, right, from a PR communication point. But one thing that he said, Lee, was he talked about Thomas Frank being a good man and being good with the press and the media. Do you think ultimately a lot of that was the undoing of the last manager, and something that is really important now with Vinay coming in? He's very big on the communication. So Frank could be an astute manager for that. Well,
you've got to be, right, because it's like anything. It's like any job you're in, right? Let's be fair. There were certain situations where Ange didn't like the way that he's being questioned by the press, right? And you could see that he was biting back. You know, the issues with the fans, you know, going up to the fans, all this kind of stuff. No matter who you are, that the club doesn't want that type of reputation. It doesn't want that kind of media. It's got sponsorships to worry about, all this kind of stuff. It's just all bad for them, right? So I completely think that that's part of it. You know, I've never seen a bad interview from Frank. You know, watch lots of Match of the Day and all that kind of stuff, and you see these things. So yeah, the interesting thing about that interview, right? And listen, it's all Tottenham Hotspur PR, right? We get, of course, that. I mean, the fact that Vinny come out and said, you know, I've known Daniel for a long time. I'm just like, for crying out loud, here we go. Is one of your mates is coming in. The interesting thing, there's two things I got out of that interview, right? Is that very interesting that I heard them say there was like 30 candidates, right? Okay, you can have names on paper. It doesn't mean that they're ever coming or were even talked to about coming to Spurs as manager. So you can spout 30 if you like, but we know it's probably a lot less than that.
Yeah.
But I think that they got down to him because he fits the mould in terms of he's coming in from a lower club, right? So you know that he's not going to have positional power to ask for the world, right? We know that. Probably the same with Ange. He's very good with the media, so they're not going to get the PR issues out of him in that sense. And as I say, he's just a really, really likable person, so he should get on with everyone. So yeah, I think it was the best all-round person for the club to choose. But let me just chuck this one in there though. The one thing that I got out of that interview, which is quite blatantly obvious now, is I'm sorry for all you fans out there that love him, but Levy's going nowhere. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah. It was very interesting. It was the back and forth compliments, wasn't it? It was like I don't know. It just felt a bit weird. Like
it was like you couldn't see underneath the camera, but they were just holding each other's balls in their hands.
Yeah.
You tickle a bit more, Daniel. No. You tickle a bit more.
Yeah, it was like one of them had some popcorn with a hole in the bottom of the box. You know what I mean? It was like it was all a bit weird, and they were talking about your work ethic, and I just don't know how you do it, and and then you got Levy going, it hurts me so much when there's failure, and we're like, hang on, Daniel, hang on, it can't hurt you that much, mate. We've had transfer windows where we've not bought anyone. We've had years where we've bought children from the local creche, and now you're talking about being hurt. Luke, does any part of you watch any of that before we move on to Frank? Does any part of you watch any of that? There's that 1% of me. I know it's bullshit. I know it is, but there's that 1% of me going, has Levy learned? Are we changing? And then I have to sort of slap myself and go, no, we're not. Does any part of you think things are going to be different and Levy's going to change and we're now suddenly going to have a great window?
100%. And then I do exactly the same thing as you, but he does it to me every summer. It happens. Like you sign, going on to Frank. There's so many reasons why he makes so much sense, and he's, as you said, ready to step up. We're ready to step up. We go together. He builds, but then you've also got the other part, and it's kind of what Lee said, is that he's used to working without a budget, so he's the perfect manager for Spurs. He he doesn't need a budget. He doesn't spend big. He doesn't have big wages, and he gets to a relatively good position with what's at his disposal. So there's both. You've kind of covered both sides here. If he doesn't get backed, he's probably going to work miracles because that's what he's done at Brentford. And if he does get back, then you could say, but every 5 minutes I flip and flop between one thing, and then I'll read a little bit more into it, or I'll read it differently, and I'll go, oh, maybe he's not. But I think he's I'm hook, line, and sinker at this moment in time.
Yeah.
To be fair though, Sav, he's put a massive target on his back though, Levy, hasn't he now?
Massive.
Saying Champions League and the league, because the issue I've got with this, and Luke, I agree with what you're saying about Frank. The problem with it is though, is that if Daniel Levy's saying we need to win win the league, he said we need to win the league, and we want to win a Champions League, then you can't expect Frank to do that with kids and through coaching. You've got to put your hand in your pocket. You've got to get the players in to be able to achieve that, because you're not going up against PSG, Madrid and stuff like that and getting any of that over the line, or keeping up with Liverpool, Man City, unless you do what you need to do to get us there, because we're not there at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's I think the thing for me, welcome James, and by the way, you frauds in the chat, as I said, Luke is just over 100 away from 1,000. Please, guys, come on. Can we show some, hospitable nature here, please? Can we show some hospitality? This is one of our guests. He's on his way to his first 1,000. I don't want to embarrass him, but it's a big deal. Let's get that button smashed. We are currently on 872. You were just on 882. 883. Sorry. Yeah, 883. 117. There's 299 of you right now in here. If my maths is good, just over a third of you, please get over there and smash that button. The link is pinned. I'll bring James in as well here. But guys, he has made a rod for his back, old Daniel Levy. And I'm not someone that talks about Levy all day, every day. But coming out with the we want to be winning leagues, we want to be winning Champions League, it's not something where I go, right, okay, win it now. I'm not going, okay, win it now. But now, James, he's got to work towards it. We've got to see the players coming in that are This year they're that much better. Next year they're that much better. Then he's put a massive rod for his own back, James. Massive.
Yeah. Evening all. I think that he has to. He has to start. And in fairness to him, I said earlier on Brian's channel, this is the first time that I can remember that it's been like Eze, okay, no, and Mbueme, okay, no, Simmons. Like we've never had a pecking order, if you like, where you've gone class. It's always been like we'll try and get Dybala. Oh no, we'll stick with NG. So there's always been a massive goal. For this is the first time it seems to be right. We can't get our first target, but our second target is just as good, or third target is just as good. So in that respect, I think there's noticeable differences. But at the same time, I think we need to go to that Mbuemo stage and then get top 6 again. And then we need to build again next season and then go for top 4 and then again to win the league. I don't think it's going to happen overnight where we go, right, where's the Mbappe's at? Because that's what fans are going to think now. And if he doesn't sign the likes of Mbappe and Haaland, Harry Kane, he's going to go, well, you promised us the league at the end of the season.
Yeah. And this is why I think for me, I get people in here every day, James, that say things to me like, oh, we should have signed Florian Wirtz. And you're like, whoa. Calm down. Yes, we should be signing Eze's. Yeah. Yes, we should be looking at Semenyo's. Yes, we should be looking at Paulinho's who are not getting games on loan at Bayern. But we do have to, lads at the top, we do have to be sensible with this, right? It's not going to be overnight. But the worry is, I think most people are saying, okay, I reckon we'll probably get an Eze or an Semenyo. But we don't want one. We need a window where we have 4 of them, right? Is that the worry, lads? That it can't just be wool over eyes with one signing.
Yeah, 100%. And going on to what James has said is exactly correct. There's so many players in this squad where I look at and go, you're probably a top 6, but you're not a top 4. But we've got other priorities to worry about before we start selling you, sort of thing. So I definitely feel like there's multiple upgrades that could be made all across this squad and all across the first 11. But we've got certain priorities that need to be matched first and foremost. And I completely agree. One won't be enough. If we go and get, say, just Eze and that's it, that won't be enough. But if we go and get him early enough, there's a show of intent there. And then that's what you're right. That's exactly what we need. We need to show now that we're intending to push on. And you can't guarantee trophies. No one can. I mean, City are the only club that guarantee it year in, year out. So you can't guarantee them, but you can show more. You can show that you're willing to go that bit by making signings, by upping the wages and etc.
Yeah, it's mad. I mean,
Sorry, I think that this is probably the easiest transfer window for Daniel Levy as well, in respect of actually spending money, because say Eze is 60 million, we'll say that, and then Semedo is 50 million. That's 110, and then we could probably get Paulinho for 30. So that's 140 million. And then for me, that team is now pushing top 4. Whether it's going to get there or not is a different kettle of fish, but I would expect that team to be there or thereabouts. So it's not like he's got to go out and break the bank and spend 300-400 million. He's 3 top players away from competing to the top 4 or a League Cup or an FA Cup. So it's not. I think that the ball is in his court, and it'd be silly to drop the ball this time because everyone will gun for his head if he drops the ball after what he said. I
mean, Lee, you said it. Rod back. This isn't Levy-like. Is this Vinay's influence? Is this Vinay saying, hey, you've got to spin this? You know, we finished 17th. We need some feel-good factor. And is this going to come back to bite him? Because we're not winning a league anytime soon. I mean, in my opinion, we're not winning a league or a Champions League. So...
No, you're right. And I didn't listen. What he said, I didn't take it as though he's expecting it to happen overnight, right?
Sure.
He should have. What he should have said is we will try to win the league in the next 5 years, right? Just like Newcastle owners come out and said, 10-year plan, win the league at some point in the next 10 years. That's what we're aiming for. It's going to take time. We understand that, but that's what we're getting. That's what we're trying to do. That's our target. Whereas he didn't put a target on this. So we, you know, some people will take that as though, oh my God, we're doing it next year, or we've got to do it next year, otherwise it's a failure. Sorry, it just doesn't work like that. The only thing that's worrying me about, listen, gents, I'll be absolutely honest with you right now. The whole Eze, Semenyo, Simons thing, I don't think any of those will happen. I really don't. And that's
agree.
nothing to do with whether Tottenham's
agree.
got the ability to do it. It's whether the play. Because listen, Savva, you know this, and I know this as well. Is that the first port when it comes to any transfer is not Tottenham talking to the club. It's Tottenham talking to the player's agent.
It's the agent.
Tottenham don't talk to the club until the agent has said, yeah, actually, we are interested. Because if you don't get through that gate, there's absolutely no point talking about release clauses or anything like that whatsoever. So I don't think the Eze thing will work. I don't see why there's any reason why we can't sign Eze, right? It's a really strange one, right? With him, he should want to come to Spurs, right? Palace he's plateaued at Palace. That's as far as he's going to get. Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, they won a cup and they managed to get into Europe, but he should want Champions League. And if no one else is in for him, then yeah, I want to go to Tottenham. If the only sticking point is the upfront cost, then that's down to a Levy issue again, right? Or a club issue. Let's not say Levy because everyone goes, don't just blame Levy. There's other people involved. But at the end of the day, if he doesn't want to play the upfront cost, then that's him. That's a him issue. There shouldn't be any reason why we shouldn't be able to get him. Semenyo, I said this last week on Tottenham away. I wouldn't mind Semenyo. I think he's a good player. I think he's better than what we've got.
Yeah.
I just don't think he's a £70 million player.
Who is? I
think we're playing a premium when I think his value's probably around 42 to 50. If you're pushing it and want to put a premium on top of him, 70 million is just ridiculous. It's a ridiculous amount of money. And Simmons, I don't know why he'd want to come to Tottenham. I'm sure there's other suitors out there that would get him but I don't know. Maybe he's not at that level yet. Maybe this is another one where maybe it's a stopgap for him. Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
I'll come to you and then I'll shift on to Man City. That type of signing. Yeah.
Listen, if any of those three actually come through the door, I'll hold my hands up and say, do you know what? Maybe Lee has changed. Maybe Vinay is now the one that's running football.
Well, he said he wasn't he, right?
He did. Absolutely.
He said, I'm running the day-to-day operations.
He rolled it all off. So
on the pitch and off the pitch. So now Vinay, the Levy out campaign isn't about Levy out. It's now Vinay out, right? If nothing goes well, he's in the target.
The one thing I will say, though, and I'll end on this about the transfers, I'm fed up of seeing all the transfers to do with the wings. I don't think that's as important as sorting out our midfield. As Sean Butler says, we need a 6. We definitely need a defensive midfielder. I completely agree with him. That is a priority, and I'm seeing absolutely nothing apart from Gray can do that job. Well, come on, guys. He needs coaching. He's not going to be that masterful dim after. No, we're not. He's not going to be that masterful after. And let's be fair. Let's talk. Frank's got a hell of a pre-season. Arsenal,
sure.
Newcastle, then the Super Cup. We've got one other game in the middle of that. I can't remember who it is, but
Luton.
Yeah. You know what I mean? The Burnley games and stuff are going to be kids, right?
I completely agree with you, Lee, because do you know what? This is the strange thing. When people are saying, Savva, where do you think Spurs should finish? I'm like, right, first of all, let me get to the end of the summer. First of all, let me see who we bring in, because this squad isn't going to do well in Champions League and finish in the top half of the table unless it gets bodies in, right? He might get us to the top half, but it's not going to go back to where we want to be, which is competing for the Champions League places minimum in the league. But you're right, James. Lee is right. All we seem to do is buy wingers. And yes, I think we do need some good wingers. And I think it's a sad indictment on our transfer policy that we still need more. But he's right. I think we need a revamp in central midfield. I think we're really lightweight and don't control games. What do you make of the midfield situation?
Yeah, exactly the same, to be honest. I want a number 6. And I'm a bit different. I'm not fussed about the big monster number 6. I'm not fussed for the whole, we need someone just to break up play. I would like, I know this is going to sound stupid, but a Luka Modric-like player. Somebody who's just going to get the ball in those hostile moments and just pass it, make the easy pass. Haven't always got to try that fast forward. Or for me, my biggest question mark with Bergvall is every time he touched the ball, he tried to run 50 yards with it rather than just knock it, play the
Right.
easy football and go again. So for me, I would love us to just go back to like easy football. What happened to like letting the ball do the work rather than letting Kulu run his arse off or Bergvall run his arse off? Or I think we just need a nice, cool, calm head, and I think we would go up a level. I mean, I think Bentancur could do that, but he can't do that unless he's got a number 6 behind him. So I think Basuma could have done that if he played in the 8, not number 6. But again, this is what I'm saying with Ange. Don't want to go back to Ange. When you're playing players in the wrong positions, you're going to get 4s, 5s out of 10s rather than 6, 7, 8 out of 10. So for me, I think
like a Locatelli, someone that goes in front of the back 4, knows when to slow the game down, knows when to speed it up, but somebody that whenever the defence get the ball, this man is available. He's got that knack of, I've just dropped 5 yards into this space, like a Michael Carrick, how he did, right? Well, yeah, let's just go and get Rodri back from Man City.
Easy, yeah.
That's what we need, isn't it? Let me chuck it out there to you and the others then. Could we see Frank go back to Brentford and take one of his midfielders? Because what he was very good at Brentford was he found these gems in midfield that didn't cost a lot from the Scandinavian regions. People like Norgard, underrated for me, good player, just does the simple job, gives you a 7 out of 10 every game. One, could we go for something like that? Maybe a Janelt, a Norgard, a Yarmouk. 2, would our fans see that as a big enough signing?
Well, I read earlier that we was actually linked with a Scandinavian CDM, a 6'4" player. I can't remember who it was, but I did read that we was linked with one. And there's the guy from South America, wasn't it Ecuador or something like that? There's another one from, is it like Ecuador?
Is that Richard Rios, who we've been linked with?
Yeah,
today?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what he's like, but yeah. But again, he was only that day. He's only, yeah. I mean, I've never watched him, but again, would people be disheartened with something like that? 20 million, 6'4". For me, I'd be all for it. I'd be like, let's see what you can do.
Yeah.
Regardless of what people say about Levy, they can't say that he didn't back Ange and give him exactly who he wanted. So I'm hoping that he continues that with Frank and actually gives him who he wants to actually play his way of football.
Well, let me ask you, Luke and Lee, is it more important for the type of player that we get, i.e. the position and what they do, rather than the name? Or are we so starved down the years that it needs to be a name to come in? Because everyone that you speak to, Lee, you did it just now. I did it this morning. I automatically go to Eze. I've not seen a single link actually given us to Eze, right? But we all talk about it. Is it more important about the fit for Thomas Frank rather than the name for the fans?
I think it depends, right? So for me, I'd be quite happy if he went out and brought in someone in central midfield who he knows that can do a job, because it's very specific. The one thing that I always said about Ange's system is that it strangled players, right? It's a system. It says, here's the system. You all learn the system and you play my system. And that's why it wasn't very adaptable. And you need, every team's got a player that can just switch on a bit of flair and change a game, right? So I'm not as worried in the final third. So like get a Semenyo, get an Eze that can just do something. They make up the players, they go along, they do something magical so that they can get round players, that kind of thing. I'm happy that would be the kind of marquee signings and keep them there. But when it comes to like midfield or central, you need the guy that's doing a job, right? So if you can identify someone and say, look, this he fits the profile, he breaks up play, etc., then I'm more than happy to bring in people that don't need to be a marquee name, right? That's fine. But you've got to have. I think the wingers is where we can sign these marquee players, right? Because you expect them to be do things that you're not expecting. Whereas in the midfield, you're expecting them to do a job and keep consistent,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, Luke, it's interesting because I think we all talk about this, and I want to bring up a couple of quotes from my gaffer, My gaffer, not yours, Luke. Not yours. My gaffer.
Mine's got a European trophy.
So it's all right, mate. I think he's going to take over a club in Saudi. If you want to go out there with a missus, it's up to you, mate. So he's turned around and he said this. Let me check if I got the right one. There we go. Yeah. So the intention is to play aggressive, front-footed football. I know the ethos and history of the club is massive on attacking football, and there's so much attacking talent in this squad. I'm very excited about that. Now, there's people already going, well, that's what Ange did. That's what Ange did. What's going to be the difference between Frank saying it and implementing it and your gaffer saying it and implementing it?
Well, it all comes down to being backed, doesn't it? That is the bottom line of it. And it's not just necessarily being backed in terms of the players you want, but it's getting the recruitment right. So there's no point signing players that don't fit your system. There's no point signing players that are not going to be here in a couple of years' time. We keep doing that too often, and they don't improve. So I completely agree with what's been said in terms of the monster six that everybody kept saying. That was needed in an Ange system because it was basically on his own in there. So you needed someone that can dictate, control. You needed to do a bit of everything. Whereas
he didn't play with one. He said he didn't want one. He can't say that and say he's missing a number 6 because he didn't want one.
No, I'm saying from a fan. I'm saying from a fan.
Oh yeah, from our point of view, you were shouting for it. We were screaming for it.
That was what that. So for me, I kept saying that there's no way this is going to be something that we can keep doing without bringing in someone who's dominant in that central midfield. However, if Frank reverts to the 4-2-3-1, when you've got 2 men in there, as Ange and the players showed in the last few games, when you've got 2 in there, you don't need one to be this all dominant. What you can have just a good pairing that makes sense, that fits, and they play well off each other. So the 6 doesn't have to be an absolute star, which I think probably 4 or 5 months ago, I'd have said we need to go and spend all the money there. Whereas now it's almost like you need to get someone in that can do the job. As you mentioned, Norgard, I like Gomez from Wolves. I think João Gomez looks like a good player. And again, if you've got 2 in there that can do half the job, then that's exactly what you need. So I think that the big money needs to go on the wingers. I know what he says about the attacking talent, and I think that there is a lot of talent in there, but we need it consistent. And it proved at times last year that we were either brilliant going forward or terrible at times as well. So I think we need to get that Maddison sort of player, but I think we need more of a winger. But you're right about Eze. Eze, every time I watch Eze, I'm like, he is a Tottenham player, but I don't know whether or not the system will allow him to now come in. Is he going to play like a left wing, for instance? Have we even got any interest in actually signing him? I think that we do need to spend the money in the wings. That's where I think it needs to come in. We need one.
Well, I mean, you could see there just quickly, James. You could see there that this was the formation that he favoured towards the end of last season with Brentford. So you can see that it was more of a, and forgive me, I hate myself for about to say something. He plays more of a double pivot. Used to be called a centre mid, when a centre mid pairing, didn't it? It used to be the central midfield. Now they're I'm a double pivot. I'm playing a 3. Fuck off, centre mid.
He does like having 2 up front as well, though, doesn't he? He likes to have two attackers, yeah.
He does. I mean, this is the beauty, right, James? That he can float from the back 3 to the back 4 to 1 up front to 2 up front. It gives you options. But Luke is right. That Ange system, if ever a system was crying out, it was for the number 6. Is that going to be as important, do you think, for Thomas Frank? Do you think we'll be able to get away with more of 2 8s, 2 box-to-box pivot players?
I think, first of all, a good set of tactics and a good formation and a good system will automatically gain us 10 to 15 points extra this season. So whether it's a double pivot or whatever you want to say, if they're set up correctly and you've got a back 4 behind them, you automatically pick up more points, in my opinion. When it comes to the front 3, that there's a lot of talent in the front 3. Look, I think putting the ball in the back of the net is a talent from Brennan Johnson. I think that is a talent. But what he has in that talent, my God, does he lack in footballing brain, energy, work rate. The guy, listen, he knows how to put the ball in the back of the net. But other than that, I've seen absolutely nothing else. And I think secretly behind doors, he said that to Levy, because why are we being linked with every right winger under the sun? He knows that. He's not stupid. So for me, you can have whatever talent you say you can have, But realistically, to fit a Frank system, you need to be able to work hard. So players like him, I think they're going to struggle. I can only see Kulu going back to right wing to sort of cover for him if the team stays how it is, without buying anybody else in. Hard work beats talent every time.
The only thing to caveat that though is that he did want him at Brentford. We beat Brentford to Johnson and Gray. So
yeah, but Brentford and Tottenham are two different clubs.
Oh no,
they're happy to finish in the top 10. We shouldn't be happy to finish in the top 10. So I think that's like saying, you know, Ange wanted Brennan Johnson at Celtic. Well, Celtic, that league's dreadful. Do you know what I mean? Like, we can't be, if he wanted to buy Solomon off of us and then we got him back on loan, should we be happy with him because he wanted him elsewhere? Like, it doesn't work.
I'm not saying about being happy with it. I'm saying that in terms, and I've said this, I said this way back on your show, Savva, that we should be upgrading the 11, and therefore the 11 become the bench players. Now, I agree with you. Brennan Johnson's not good enough to be starting right wing for a Champions League club. If you go, I know Mbeumo is probably off the market, but if you go and sign an Mbeumo and Johnson is your option coming off the bench, that completely changes the outlook. So I think he will probably be someone he's excited to look to have and train with and try and progress, but we still need to upgrade that position 100%.
But I think James, you're spot on. Really quickly. I think you're spot on. The fact that we are being linked with Mbeumo, Semenyo, you know, we're being linked with quick forwards. We're being linked. I don't think it's rocket science that anybody's looked in at this squad and gone, okay, where's the game changer? Where's the match winner?
There's two things I'm hoping, and this is just my opinion. I'm hoping he turns Johnson from a right winger into a striker because he seems to have the knack of finishing everything in the box. And like we said, with these wingers, have you noticed every single one of them knows how to beat their man? They're good on the ball. They're comfortable 1v1. It's almost like we're looking for an Mbeumo, a Simmons, all these players. Kudos, they're all very good one-on-one and good on the ball. That's the complete opposite to what we have in for me, Kulu, terrible on the ball. I think he gives the ball away more than he keeps it. Brennan Johnson, terrible on the ball. Tell showed moments, but I'm not convinced. And then the list goes on and on and on. So for me, we're going for a completely different style winger as well. That speaks volumes to me.
I mean, you look at it. Look at the players he's had, guys, at the top. Look at the style that he brought in at Brentford. He had Tony at first, didn't he? He had Watkins at first, if we're going to be honest, who was the running behind, get on the end of things. Then he went to Tony, who was more of your big man, hold up, everything went through him. And then he's had to pivot away from that. I'm using the word pivot a lot. Sounds like an episode of Friends. He had to pivot away from that a lot. And then he's got Vissa and Mbeumo and Sade, who are very much dynamic, running at you, quick, getting in behind. And I think he'll see that he's not got that at Spurs. I don't know what you guys think. I think he'll know that he's not got that. And no matter what we want him to do with Brennan Johnson, he might be able to coach him. But I think that's something you've got or you don't. I think you've got that in your locker or you haven't. That's my opinion.
Do you know what? I think... Do you know the one thing about Brentford? You know it's Brentford, right? And you know that they're one of those teams that are mid-table. They're one of those teams that you should go there and get a win or whatever. But do you know what? When you see that team sheet, most defences must think, yeah, they're dangerous. That front three is dangerous. We've got to be on our game today. This isn't going to be easy. And that's the kind of... But that, for me, that's the kind of... what we didn't have last season at Spurs, right? No defences coming up and going, oh, it's only Johnson, it's only Tell, it's only Solanke, he's only, you know, he's a good, he works hard. That's great, fantastic. I think that's the kind of players that we need in there that are going to frighten. They might not be world class, but they need to frighten defenders when they come up against them. That's what you need, because as soon as the defender's on the back foot, you've already got one up on them. Yeah, and that's what we didn't have. And can I give you just a slightly different spin on the whole six thing, right?
Mate, go for it.
Because it was interesting what these guys were saying over here. Thinking about it, you're absolutely right. We were crying out as fans for a number 6 under Ange's system for one reason only, is because we needed that extra person in front of the back two when it was a back two and when the other guys were high up the pitch or pivoting, right? But if Frank doesn't actually play that gung-ho, then maybe a monster number 6 isn't needed. Maybe what we need is a midfield two, a midfield two that basically what they need to do for the first 4 weeks of the pre-season is identify his two that he wants, get them in, or if they're already here, whatever, send them off on holiday together, let them get to know each other and basically become a brotherhood, a pairing, so that they know how to work on each other. Maybe you don't need a defensively minded. You just need to know, right, me, you are a partnership. When you go, I stay back. When I go, you stay back. Yeah. They need to work off each other. Then the other midfielder is your creative one. You just let them create in front of you. They don't need to be dropping, but Maddison don't need to be dropping back in the halfway line. So that's the difference. So maybe we don't need a number 6. Maybe we've already got it. Maybe we've got Bergvall as that more sort of forward thinking, and maybe Bentancur can play. Maybe they can play like that together. Maybe that's what we're looking for, and they just haven't been coached it. Maybe Frank can do that. So, but we don't know. The frustrating thing, we just haven't seen anything. Right, we're weeks away from any kind of games and that kind of stuff. So it's all speculation. It's really frustrating, but that's what we're hoping.
Would you guys be happy with, say, for example, he said, Bentancur, you're my starter, alongside somebody like Douglas Luiz or Edison? So there's no guaranteed number 6 there, but they're two ball playing, comfortable in the ball midfielders. Like that for me, again, I'd love that, something like that.
You just need that kid from school, right, that got the ball and then you could just never get it off them. You know, that kind of play, like a Dembele. Musa.
I was that kid,
mate.
I was that kid.
Oh, I was never that kid.
Only
because it was my football, and if you're not letting me play, I'm taking it home. But no, I think you make a great point. I do think that one thing that we haven't had for a few years is partnerships all over the park, and I agree. I don't think that your midfield two. Listen, I'd love a midfield two of Rodri and Reinders, of course. Like, do you know what I mean? We'd love that. I'd love a Declan Rice in our midfield. You know, I'd love a Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez. Not going to happen. But what I think it needs to have the balance, like you said, Lee. It's got to have that balance. And I think we need a go-to midfield. I think we need two that we know are our go-to. Yeah, so in the bigger games, you go, well, who's going to play today? Him and him. I felt too many times in the last 2 years it's been, oh, today is Sarr and Basuma. Then it's Basuma and Bentancur. Then it's Bentancur and Bergvall. I feel like we need that go-to 11 that the squad can be built around. And this is why a lot of people in the chat are saying, and James, you said, Frank, midfield area is so important for me. I'll be really disappointed, lads. I don't know about you. If we go in with the same group of central midfielders, I think we've got to get one. I think we've got to get one, a leader, not a 19-year-old. I think we've got to get one in there, surely, that's been there, seen it, and done it.
Yeah, 100%. And it hasn't. Yeah, as I said, like obviously Walton was one that was heavily linked. We don't need £100 million player in there at this moment in time. Like if we've got other priorities in terms of going to sign Eze, I think we just need to go in and get a midfielder that can sit there. As you've mentioned, Luis is a great shout. I like João Gomez. I think Palhinha could do a job there as well. I think Bentancur, whenever he's had someone that's there with him, it's almost like a little comfort blanket, and he seems to play far better. But when he's asked to do the role on his own, it's a completely different. It's such a specialised role that you're looking at the elites of the elites, and they're not coming to Spurs. So I think we definitely there has to be one that comes in, and then I agree. I think there'll be a lot of partnerships, but then we're also going to have certain players like Sarr, for instance. Tactically suits perfectly playing against the top team, so you might see him come in because he can get around people and everything else. But I think Frank will be able to utilize that. This is where I said about him being so flexible. It might be too flexible at times. I think that he'll be able to really match up how these partnerships would work together.
Mm-hmm. But there's players out there, right?
I know we said about Sarr and stuff, but maybe a bit controversial here. I want that guy as far away from this football club as physically possible. I think he is the worst footballer I've seen at Tottenham Hotspur for a very, 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 very long time. That guy gives the ball away more than I've ever. Him and Kulu, to be honest, would be the first two names on my transfer list. I would love to see a team that are comfortable on the ball. I think that's my style of football, to be honest. Someone that's really comfortable on the ball, and then you let your forwards do your forward stuff. You let your defenders do your defending. I don't want to see Romero rushing out up to attacking midfield, trying to play through a Son. I want to see my defenders defend. I want to see my midfielders keep the ball, and I want to see my wingers attack. And therefore, Kulu gives the ball away every time he touches it. Sarr is dreadful on the ball. I think Basuma and Bentancur are both rubbish unless they've got a calm head next to them. So this is where we say we need to buy a Douglas Luiz or someone like that. Otherwise, they both can go as well. I think it's very important that we now actually bring in a style that's going to suit the players and actually longevity. We can't go gung-ho for 30 minutes and then get battered the last 60 minutes. It'd be nice to be able to just keep the ball and actually watch something that's flowing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that if we want to play that two in midfield, I don't think one of them can be Papa Sarr. I think Papa Sarr works perfectly in games like Frankfurt away. Games like Man United in the final, when you've stuck 10 men behind the ball and you're saying to your three centre mids, just run around, get stuck in, be awkward, be hard to beat. When you hang on, James, just quickly. When you flip it to now, we're the team in control. Now I don't want a Sarr on the ball. I want a guy that puts his foot on the ball. See, again, and I'm hoping that with Bergvall, by the way, I think he's got talent. I want Bergvall to be given a position. I want Bergvall to be coached that he doesn't need to do what you say, what you said earlier, James. He doesn't need to, every time he gets it, thinks he needs to drive every time. I want that to be coached, and I think that will be coached. So for me, I think we're going to see a lot of change this summer. I think we need a lot of change this summer. And guys, we're going into the Champions League. I think a lot of people that are asking about, oh, well, where should Frank finish? I'm seeing people in the chat. Where should we finish? Well, hang on. How about we have our window first? How about we have some friendlies and see what formations we're going to play before we start talking about where we're going to finish? So I think massive job to do here. Massive job.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think that it is a massive job. But there's been so many years that where we've known what the budget is, we know where we're going, and it's been like you have to be really clever to be able to improve our team in certain ways. Whereas this time round, I feel like we have got so many areas that we can improve it. There are so many players that we can realistically bring in, and as James mentioned earlier, they're not £100 million players. We're not saying we need 4 and we've got to go and spend 400 million. We can go and sign 30, 40, 50 million pound players, and they improve our 11, and therefore it gives us a much better chance of being able to actually do something this year. And that's why the transfer window is so pivotal. But then to caveat that, we've got such a massive squad. I do think that part of the whole thing that came out saying, oh, we've got to sell to buy, I think part of that was more, you've got so many players, you have to sell some before you can start buying because you've just got so many. So I think part of that is also like if Son gets in at a decent offer, I think out of the two, Basuma's the probable most likely to go with Bentancur looking like he's been offered a new contract. So I think part of it is also what people are going to pay and whether we're going to shift them out the door, and then we can start replacing, which isn't ideal.
You're spot on, Luke, and that what worries me more than anything. It's not getting. Although I do worry about the players coming in and the names being spouted around. The one thing that keeps coming back into my head though is like, okay, it's great we're getting these players in, but let's be honest, we are so overbalanced in those wing areas that we've got to get rid of someone. Right now, we know Tell's not going anywhere. I know James is probably going to log off and cry, but Son's probably gone this season. And I'll be happy for him to go. He's won a trophy. Let him go. Let him go to the Middle East and see out his days. He's almost 33, 34 now? Go for it, mate. You deserve it. I think we're really light on the right. I'm absolutely with James in the sense that Kulu goes this summer. I wouldn't be worried. If Sarr goes, I wouldn't be worried. If Basuma goes, I wouldn't be worried. As long as we get someone in to replace them. But the whole wing side of things really does worry me in the sense that we've got Solomon, Odebear, Tell, Johnson, still got Kulu. What's going to happen to Mikey Moore? I mean, there's a whole. How many wingers do you need? Really, you need two. You need two starters, or your front three or wingers, whatever you want to call them, and then you need a couple that can come on and make a difference. Maybe something a little bit different. Other than that, I don't know why we need 8, and yet there's
But
nothing coming out about any of those guys going, and especially Sarr. Can you? That's what worries me. Have you seen anyone coming in for Sarr? Because you would have thought if he was that good, someone would come in for him, right? Because he's a fringe player. He's not a first team starter.
You know what? I know this can sound a bit controversial. You know what I think generally the problem is I think it's the fans. I think the fans pipe these players up to be so good.
Agreed.
That it's almost like you can't let him go. Like Son, he's still world class. He was never world class. He's one of the greatest wingers I've ever seen play for Tottenham, but he was never world class. You got people saying, but Brendan Johnson, look at all the goals he scored. Solanke, look how hard he works. Unfortunately, these things don't win you football matches. They'll win you the odd game here or there. You ain't going to be successful. People are like Kulu. If he was at City, let's compare Kulu and Jack Grealish. Jack Grealish don't even get a wink in because City are cutthroat. They're like, right, off you go. Next one in, Mamouche, in you come.
£100 million, right?
Whereas Spurs fans will go, no, you can't let him. He's got to be playing. He's the best winger in the league. He's the best midfielder.
James, we want to keep everyone for 5, 6, 7. I mean, look how long fans. The best 2 examples I can give you of this, right? Ndombele and Lo Celso, right? Those 2 signed, and 5 seasons later, every summer fans are going, this manager could be the manager, get the best out of them. This manager, they've just not been played right. All right. So they had Jose, Poch, Conte, Nuno, right? None of them could play them right. No, but our fans can't get rid of him. Can't get rid of him. If I suggest we get rid of anybody, no, can't get rid of him. Well, we might have to sell Spence to get some. Can't get rid of him. Cool. Where's the money coming from? Where's the squad spaces coming from?
Yeah.
We have a contrary to belief, all these fans, Luke, all these fans last year, we've only got a small squad. No, we don't. We've got a very big squad. We just didn't use it well. We've got to get players out. Lee said it. We've got 472 wingers, and that's just on the left. We've got so many wingers. We've got to change it, mate. We've got to be ruthless.
Do you think it's because for me, for instance, like Romero, I know that you've obviously said your opinions on Romero, and I agree with virtually everything you said. The problem that I have is that if we get rid of Romero, I don't see anyone coming in anywhere near that level because I don't feel like we replace people. We waited 12 years to replace Gareth Bale with Gareth Bale. So it's just like, I think that's our problem is that I don't
think Romero's anywhere near that. I think Romero's very easily replaceable. You're talking about a guy. See, do you know what? Do you know what? Here's the thing for me.
What I'm saying is, I still think that the replacement for Romero is Danzo. That is and I don't.
No, but they won't do that. See, I think, right, again, I'm saying no. I don't work at the club. It'd be good if I did. Imagine I was undercover working at the club. That'd be amazing. For me, by the way, Real Madrid have just missed a penalty in the 92nd minute to beat Al Hilal. So it's still 1-1. For anyone that cares.
There's more people in the chat than at the stadium.
yeah, there is more people in my chat. By the way, for all you people in the chat, the likes are dreadful. 168. There's 500 of you in here. And my man Luke, listen, guys, girls, I've said this before. The pinned chat, Luke is 104 subscribers away from 1,000. There are 500 of you in here. I need 1/5 of you. 1/5. That's all. Look, that's just that one there. 1/5 of you. Please get over, subscribe, get Luke to 1,000. It is a massive deal for a YouTuber. There is the link. I pinned it and I've just put it in again. Luke, here's my thing with Romero. Romero for me is another one. And I think James might agree with me. I'm not sure about Lee on this. Romero for me has great games every now and then. And then I think our fans go, oh my God, see? He's world class. We seem to forget the 10 games that preceded that, where he looked like he couldn't head a ball, falling over, rash tackles. We forget all of that and we just go, he's class. Plus all the games he misses, Luke. When you put all of that into account, is he really going to be that difficult to replace? A guy that plays half our games, and even when he plays half of them, not many of them are that great. Is he really that difficult to replace?
As I said, I just don't think we will replace him. That's the problem.
We'd have to. Champions League.
I just
We'd
don't.
have
I
to.
just have a feeling.
We'd have to, Luke.
Again, it's this really optimistic to then realistic. I
But
just
look,
don't
with
feel
the
like,
Champions
and I
League,
agree.
we'll have to.
I
If
agree
we
with
didn't
you.
get Europe, I agree with you. If we didn't get Europe, I agree. Danso would have slotted in. There's your centre back. With Champions League, we would have to replace Christian Romero because we wouldn't have a lot of centre backs because Dragashin's out until like November or something, right? So I don't think he's going to be that difficult to replace. I don't see the fuss, guys. I'm sorry.
We also knew that our centre backs were going to be out until February in November last year, and we knew we needed centre backs, and it took till February for us to sign them in the January transfer window. So I know what you mean, and as fans, we know we need a centre back if he goes. I still am not sure whether we go, but that's just an example. That is my thing, is that I always think that it's easy to say we should sell these players, and I'm not disagreeing with anyone. I'm just saying that I don't back us to bring the right players in to be able to then replace these players that go out. So that's where I think a lot of fans are kind of sat at. But I completely agree with like your Lo Celsos and Ndombele's. You just got to cut your losses and go, right, it's over with, get them out.
If we're being honest with ourselves, though, and we're taking away Romero's name and in his World Cup winning trophy, Danso was far better than Romero last season, in my opinion. Far, far, far better.
I think consistent.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I think every week he's a 7 out of 10 for me, Danso. Whereas you'd get Romero 10 out of 10, and then a 3 out of 10, and then a 4 out of 10, and then a 5 out of 10, and then a 10 out of 10. You can't build championship winning squads if that's what Levy's talking about around someone like that. You need 7 out of 10s every week with match winners, in my opinion. So for me, I wouldn't care if we kept Danso and sold Romero, invested it in a 6 and players that we actually needed. I really, really wouldn't. And I actually like Romero. So Danso is fine with me for replacing Romero.
By the way, I don't think he's going anywhere. I don't think anyone will pay the money for him. But Lee, can I bring you in it, Lee? I've had this chat so many times about Romero that I know a lot of the chat don't listen to me. If Christian Romero turns around, signs a new contract, wants to be here, gets himself fit, I've got no problem with Christian Romero. He's a good centre half. My problem is this man couldn't be giving more signals. It's like, you know, when you're about to get dumped, you know you're about to get dumped, but you're hanging on for dear life. Not you, Luke, you good-looking bastard. You've probably never been dumped, have you? Look at you. Look at those pearly whites and lovely hair, right?
Hey, I've been married. I'm married.
Oh, sorry to hear that, mate.
Okay. It's too expensive to dump you now. That's the problem.
Overrated.
Too expensive.
You only look 15. Have you been permission?
Yeah.
You had permission
He looks like he's just slightly older than Matty Kay does, Luke. It's just does, Luke.
I'm nearly mid-30s. I'm taking it.
Take it, mate. Take it. So yeah, Lee. The problem is, it's almost Romero's the one that is constantly dropping the little hints and the bombs that he doesn't want to be here. But then when any fan suggests, all right, go then, get someone who wants to be here. Oh, yeah, that's it. Sell our best player. You're like, well, what do you make of this Romero thing?
Listen, you said earlier, I don't know what your thoughts are on Romero. Let me describe it for you. It's really simple. Before the whistle went on any match, my first thought about Romero when he was starting was which Romero is going to turn up today, and that's it.
Yeah,
that should tell you all you need to know. The inconsistency, whether he's going to have a fantastic game, is he going to lose his head again? Is he going to do something rash? I mean, you're just waiting for it. It's like white knuckles on a plane, isn't it? It's like, is he going to do something? He's going to do something. Oh, here he goes. He's in the corner flag in the offence. You just never know. So listen, I completely agree with you. It sounds like he thinks he should be at a bigger club than Tottenham, and I completely understand that. I think he wants to be in Spain, something like that. If a bid comes in for him, that is reasonable. I think we can go a little bit lower on our valuation because I don't think he's world class. He's been on a world class stage in a team that's won something like the World Cup. Doesn't mean he won the World Cup for them. It just means he was in the team that won it. There's a big difference. Just like Werner when he took the medal after the UEL and he wasn't even in the squad. But anyway,
I can't agree with you more.
If he wants to go, let him go. Yeah, if he wants to negotiate, and I'll add something to this, and I apologise if this offends anyone, but the thought of him being a club captain when he can barely speak English and he cannot communicate with a lot of the other players in a fashion in 90 minutes where you need to be concise with your communications and stuff is just ridiculous. He should never have been captain.
But equally, we talked about this morning, Lee. I was talking about it with Lubo, saying, well, it's not just that. Yeah, I guess in the lack of the English language is obviously a massive problem. But if you want to be a captain, put your pen to paper.
By example, right? Don't go free.
If you want to be a captain, don't run off down the tunnel at Wolves when we've lost 4-3 and not say goodbye to the fans. If you want to be a captain, don't have a dig at the medical team here. If you want to be a captain, don't half an hour after the new manager is announced, don't drop on your social media about Angepostecoglou. Like, you've had a week to do that, mate. So for me, all of these different things shows me that, one, he doesn't want to be here. Here's the interesting thing. We know, back to your point, Lee, and it's so refreshing speaking to people who understand how transfers work. I think people think that you just phone up the club and go, we want him for 50 million. Atletico Madrid's people will have been speaking to Romero's people for ages. Let's not beat around the bush. They've been talking for ages, right? This man has had his head turned, and I've got no problem with anyone wanting to better themselves in life. Yeah? Someone rocks up to me tomorrow and says, stop this YouTube channel. I'm going to give you 30 grand a month to run that YouTube channel. Sorry, I'm taking it, right? I'm taking it. I love you all. Come with me, but I'm going there. My worry is, what if the bid comes in, Lee, the official bid comes in at 45 million and we know it's not enough? Now suddenly Romero's going, I want to go, and Levy's going, well, I can't let you go 45 million. Well, how much can they get to? Oh, I don't know. And they play that big game all summer. What happens then? Do these fans just want to keep a player that clearly doesn't want to be here because he's Christian Romero? Or do you want to go and get a centre-half in that, as I said earlier, he might be there compared to Romero, but he might be there every game rather than
consistent.
Rather than
what he's going to, what you're going to get from him every match, rather than are you going to get a superb Romero performance, or you're going to get 20 minutes and then after 5 minutes he just decides to go flying through someone. And it's just like, oh my God, here we go.
And Reezy, I'll tell you what, I've been doing YouTube a long time, my man. And the difference between me and you, with your fake photo and your fake name, here's the difference between me and you. Think about this sentence and let me reverse engineer it back. Savva overestimates our transfer strategy. I mean, first of all, Savva's been calling out for a transfer strategy for years. We won't adequately replace Romero. So the same transfer strategy that got you Romero now isn't good enough to get someone as good as Romero. If I had a mic, I'd drop it. But is that what you're saying to me, Reezy? So we were able to get Romero, but now suddenly no one else in the world is going to match up to Christian Romero. Sorry, I'll just let that sit with him for a little bit. I'll just let it sit with him.
Can I just say about... Sorry, go on, Luke.
I just think in a perfect world for everyone, I think if we knew we was getting an adequate replacement in and we was to spend that money right, Romero leaves, I think that makes sense on most people. Just on the basis that I know we keep talking about he's being unavailable and et cetera, and completely agree with that. Also, when you compare it, when you add into the fact his centre-back partner is just as unavailable, you cannot, it's hard enough doing it with one. You can't have both of them being unavailable. So I think if Van der Vent's your one there, or Romero's your one, you can't. The other one can't be the two, because you just cannot go through. You can't go through seasons like that, because it's not. And I think you've mentioned this before, Savva. We're not talking about it's Ange's tactics, because he's been doing it for 5 years. He's been unavailable for 5 years.
Do you want to know? Do you want to know the stats, Luke? Here you go.
I watched the show. I might have even been on it.
For anyone that didn't hear, right? So in the last 2 seasons, it's something like 100. Sorry, between them, it's something like availability wise, it's about 210 games, 200 games in the last 2 years that they've been available. So it was 61 this year and 42 that. So it's like 203, 204 games. Between them, they've played like 110 of them. So between them, they've missed nearly 100 games of football in 2 seasons. But Spurs fans say, let's build around that back two. All right, cool. Let's do it. Let's do it.
But
Let's
Romero's
build around it.
attendance for Argentina is 98%.
Right. Right.
Listen,
people are too emotional about it.
I know, exactly. And I'll ask you all a question. When you heard the here we go for Romero, was your first reaction, oh, or was it, huh?
Sorry, say that again.
When you heard the hit, when you were saying about the transfer strategy and how we managed to get Romero in, what was your reaction when you heard Romero was joining us, though? Because for me, it wasn't, yes, we got Romero. It was what? How on earth have we got that over the line? How on earth is Romero, one of the highest rated players in Italy, coming to Spurs? What is going on? Yeah, my reaction was pure surprise and like bewilderment that we got him. I mean, that's a Paratici thing, right? So
can't do this, Alex. If you want to be a captain, sorry, Lee. This is what I mean, guys. If you want a captain at Spurs, you can't justify the digs. You can't have a captain that is making digs left, right, and centre at the club. If you think it's justified, Alex, you've never worked in a professional environment. If I work for Lee and Lee's my boss, right? If I've got a gripe with Lee, I'm knocking on the door of his office and going, this ain't right. I don't agree with this. Can we talk? I'm not announcing it in an email to the rest of the company, right? This guy is announcing to the rest of the world, but basically shitting on the new manager, basically shitting on the board, basically shitting on the medical team. This is what I mean. Fans like you have a go. I call Alex out all the time. Oh, Levy needs to do better. Levy this, Levy's horrible, Levy's terrible. Want better from your captain then. Want better from your leaders. It can't just all be aimed at Levy. Yeah, and if that's the guy you want as captain, sorry, that don't work for me. I want a leader.
Frank
that's a player.
No,
he can't do. That's basically a player who's chipping away at the club, saying basically without handing in a transfer request, saying I want to leave.
100%.
Yeah.
What's stopping him? If he made that exact statement 4 days previous, then most will will kind of be like, oh, it's a bit of a dig. But the fact he's done it soon as the new manager's announced, it just like, I think I said it on here. The horse has bolted, mate. I'll back Tange. I'm not going to come on here and back him now. What is the point? He's gone. Like so what is the point in even like really going into it when a new manager's already announced? It makes no sense other than the fact he's looking to leave. That makes the only sense.
If he's so good, guys, and by the way, I've said I think he's good. I do. I think he's good. I just don't listen. Maybe I'm a bit older than some of the people in the chat. I've seen much better centre halves. This guy doesn't excite. I don't look at him the way I looked at Jan, the way I looked at Richard Goff, the way I looked at Gary Mabbott, Toby Alderweireld, Sol Campbell, Ledley King, the way I looked at. Do you know what I mean? Well, I know, so sorry. But when I looked at these centre halves, these were centre halves where I went, cool, yeah, you know what you're getting game in, game out. This guy's talked about like he's Toby Alderweireld and Ledley King and Richard Goff and Gary Mabbott and Perryman and he's not. But can I ask you this, boys? If he is that good, right? Everyone's telling him he's world class. Why is it only apparently a broke Atletico Madrid are in for him? Why are PSG buying Zabani from, who I like, by the way? Why are PSG buying Zabani from Bournemouth and not going for Christian Romero, the World Cup winner, if he's that good? Why are Bayern Munich, right? Why are they not going for him? Why are Real Madrid buying Houston rather than putting that money towards Romero? I just don't get it. It's another one where our fans, I think, have gone, he's there, when in reality, he's probably somewhere in between.
I thought about that. I've literally some games I've watched him and I'm like, this guy is world class. And then I sat there and thought about Toby and Jan and Ledley, and I'm like, yeah, he's not. When you compare him to them, you're like, yeah, he's just simply not there. So, but I think the problem is that you know that he is a centre half that is capable of being world class. On days when he turns up, he is absolutely ridiculously good, but it's not consistent with it, and he's also not available. So therefore, I've said this before on here. availability is an absolute key part of being a world-class player. That's why the world-class players, they're not discussed. There's no, you mentioned top players and everyone's like, yeah, because they're available, they deliver week in, week out. And
Virgil van Dijk. Does anyone ever say, no, you're not world-class?
I did when Kane done him, when Kane left him like a...
You're going to get done, but Rodri.
No.
Anyone ever say
100%.
Rodri's not world-class? De Bruyne, Mo Salah, like these people week in, week out give you those performances. And Romero, for me, epitomizes the word Spursy. For me, he epitomizes Spursy for me.
I think Romero is world-class on the world stage. If it's not the world stage, I don't think he's world-class. And by that, I mean, when all the chips are down in a cup final, he did it for Argentina, semi-final, final, it was unreal. Final for us this year, unreal. But the problem is we have to go away to Burnley. No disrespect to Burnley, but we have to go away to Burnley and teams like that. That is, for me, where you get 3 out of 10 out of him. When it's almost like, oh, I'm better than Burnley, or oh, I'm here because X, Y, Z. That's when, for me, he's a dreadful defender. But when it comes to those big games,
he's going to get that he's going to get that wherever league he goes to. It's not like, if he goes to Atletico, it's not like a whole league of Real Madrids, is it? You're going to get those type of teams.
But I think it's the name
Listen,
is
the games where he should be running. Those games against lesser teams are the games where he should absolutely stand out and boss them, but he doesn't. There's too many games. I mean, the Wolves game this year when I watched him, God, he was absolutely dreadful. And he looked like someone we just bought for 5 million and that our fans would rip apart if his name wasn't Romero. And what I don't know if you noticed, guys, when Danso or Dragoshin do the same things that Romero does, right? They get called out. Oh my God, they're shit. Oh my God, they're not good enough for the Premier League. When Romero does it, yeah, but it's an Ange system. That drives me insane. Apparently, you can't judge top players against the system, only the lesser players. Listen, I'm on the fence with this guy. I always have been. I'm not sure how I feel about him.
Listen, he stays. That's fine. But
sure.
The only issue, and I get exactly where you're coming from, is if he stays because he's already half out the door, but Levy's stubborn on the valuation and Atletico can't afford it, then what I don't want to happen is to have a Romero that is half in and half out next season.
But
he's got to be fully committed, otherwise we're just going to have another situation where he doesn't want to be there week in, week out. But I'm sure, but yeah, well, exactly. So maybe that's not going to be it. But that's where I hope Frank, who's got this got a very a big opinion of I don't want to swear, but Muppets in a squad, he doesn't like them. I'm sure if Romero starts acting like that, we'll find out very, very quickly.
See,
and I don't hope he does it, because I don't think he's a. Listen, I'm the same. It's more to do with the attitude of the transfer window. What he's done. It's nothing to do with the player. Yes, he does. He is injured a lot. Yes, he can be inconsistent. But then also sometimes I think that those little rash challenges or something like that. I know they are rash, but sometimes I think that does spur the team on a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of challenge can sort of give your team a little bit of a kick up the bum. So actually, do you know what? Maybe we're not putting enough effort in.
For me, it's quite evident to me and all of us on here that he wants to leave. If Daniel, this is where I will give Daniel Levy criticism. If he's shown half an ounce that he doesn't want to be there, Daniel Levy should be going to Atletico. What can you afford? And they go 50 million. He goes, right, I tell you what, you have him for 50 million, but we want 10 million if you win the league. We'll have 10 million if you get to the semi-finals of the Champions League. We'll have 10 million if you blah, blah, blah. Because then they're guaranteed either success to earn that money and we're guaranteed X, Y, or Z. Because you can't have a player, if we're seeing this, the players that are in the dressing room are seeing this, he's going to walk in there and go, yeah, I'm starting this week and I don't even care. I don't want to be here. What sort of tone is that? Is that setting any sort of team? It's just, for me, that can't happen. It really, really can't happen.
Oh, Oh, sorry. I think that might have been mine that cut out. Can I just say, by the way, when we're Phil, I don't think anyone's condoning Danso being a replacement. I think what we're saying is you've got to remember that a different style of manager, it won't matter so much how good on the ball you are. It only seemed to really matter in an Ange formation because we left the defense so exposed. But in a properly set up back four with two midfielders in front of them, that doesn't matter, right? Equally, I don't know why this guy cannot understand, right? This guy is, I'm not ripping him apart. I'm just saying that he's been offered a contract. Why hasn't he signed it? You lot that are all pining for him in the chat, he's the one not signing the contract. For me, he can shut me up. He can shut Lee up. James, Luke's not being as harsh on him. He can shut us up, right, lads? Sign a contract. Stay here. Keep yourself fit. We've got nothing to say. But I just feel I've never known a player get away with so many mediocre performances because of the good ones he has every now and then. I've never seen it. People saying he's better than Gabriel of Arsenal. I'm taking Gabriel of Arsenal. I'm not lying. I think whenever I watch him, I think he looks a good player, solid, strong, good in the air. But hey, each to their own. Each to their own, guys. Let's move on. Let's move on from Romero, shall we? Guys, there's a few clues we got today from Thomas Frank. He talked about the youngsters. He talked about Gray and Bergval and Adogi, and there was one more he mentioned. I can't remember who. Maybe was it Sarr? Somebody he mentioned. And then he made a big thing about Solanke and Maddison. Now that to me tells me that by mentioning these names, he feels he can get more out of them, and I completely agree. I think that as much as I don't rate Solanke as a great striker, I do think he'll get more out of him. I want to talk about the Maddison one. We've seen what he's done this year with a Damsgaard, who's a similar ilk as Maddison, different players, but in a similar position. Does anyone think that he'll get better out of Maddison now? We'll finally get to see the playmaker Maddison, not the I'm dropping deep to the halfway line to start off moves Maddison.
Absolutely.
But if Maddison's your creative player, you coach the formation, the team around him to give him the ability to be creative. That's what Ange's system didn't do for Maddison. It stifled him, it strangled him, right? That's why we saw him dropping like 50 yards. It makes no sense. He should be up in front of the box with a striker. If Frank is a coach worth his salt, he will find a way to give Maddison the space to be creative, because that's what you need, right? So let's see. I think he knows. I think he knows he's the diamond in the rough in that squad. Absolutely. We've all been saying it every time. You know, the amount of times I said, you know, watching in the middle of a match and he takes Maddison off week after week. It's like, why are you taking all our creativity? We're not out of this game. It's not 4-0. It's 1-0. What happens if they score? We're completely out of it. We've got no creativity now. So I think he's probably looking at him thinking, if I'm going to do anything, then I try and find a way to give him the ability to use him, be creative, you know, be Maddison, be yourself, do what you do. Because you can't coach what some players do. What some play, the way that players play, they're not coached. They're just naturally talented. Just naturally be talented and do what you do.
Yeah, I agree, Luke. I mean, Maddison for me criminally played wrong. This is very rare now. Do you get playmakers? If we really think about it, if you look down the Premier League, very rarely do you have a number 10. We have one, and have criminally underused him. What do you make about him possibly in a Frank system in the way that he used Damsgaard?
Yeah, it's a bit of a strange one, isn't it? Because I can see there was on occasions the way that he would drop deep. It does give you a different dimension in your play, but then you lose so much going forward as well. So I think if he was in a better quality team and there were better players around that could do some of the job that he done, then he'd be closer to the goal. But it's the facts are is you just get your best players as close to the goal as possible, and that's it. And if Maddison, if you're coming up against low blocks and Maddison's in that sort of role just behind the striker, you would expect him to be able to create something on any given day. I do think that Maddison needs to be more consistent. There was a lot of question marks at Leicester about whether he was consistent enough over the course of a full season. Now, I've always said that maybe playing with better players can bring up that consistency, we didn't really see it. There were times where he was ridiculously good, and there were other times where he weren't so good. Maybe it wasn't Ange's tactics, but I think this year, I know he's obviously he's out for a bit, but I think this year he really needs to hit the heights that we've seen him do on occasions, and he could be a game changer. He could be the player you sound about building a team around. He could be that player, 100%.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because when he was at Leicester, he was getting 20 plus goal contributions a season. And, that's what we thought we were getting at Spurs. And for some reason, we don't seem to get him in those areas. And when we did get him in those areas, I mean, Lee, you're probably bored of hearing me say this. So when I said it on Tottenham away all the time, he's got Porro, who's trying to play in midfield with him. He's got Udogie going in there. Son inverts in. Johnson inverts in. Solanke's dropping in. And all of a sudden, you've got a playmaker that's looking around going, go away. Go away. And I don't know if you remember, Lee, when we played Brentford, we beat them 2-0. And it was the most unlikely 2-0 scoreline you've ever seen for the away team. Damsgaard ripped us apart. Damsgaard, especially in that first half, everything went through him. He had the two wingers flying wide that stayed wide, the forward to ping into. I think that's what we're going to see from Maddison now. I really do. I think that's what we're going to see from him.
Yeah, and to be fair, listen, I know I'm going back to this, but if some miracle happened, I think that's why I would be happy with Kulu going as well, because I think Eze is one of those players where you could play him in the 10. Mm-hmm. You've got Tell's going to be out on the left, fair enough, or Odeberg out on the left, and other guys on the right. I think you play Eze as another, because he's the kind of player that can find a pass as well, right? He can get the ball, drive forward, find the pass. I think he'd be perfect in that role. And I know a lot of people are saying that Maddison's injured a lot and he can't last past 65 minutes. Well, we don't know that because Ange kept taking him off for no other reason. He always come back saying, "No, I'm not injured." So I don't think that's necessarily the case. But also, I'd expect someone to be injured as much as him with the amount of tackles on him. He must be one of the most tackled persons in the league. I've never seen the same guy in the fetal position more than Maddison. It's his go-to position, isn't it? When he gets tackled, it's absolutely unbelievable how many times you've seen him. You could make a meme out of it or something like that. It's madness.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, James, where are you at with Maddison? By the way, we're only going to go for another 10 minutes and then we'll end the show. But where are you at with Maddison? He is one of the leaders, so to speak. He is our creative spark. Do you think he'll thrive under Thomas Frank?
Yeah, I do. And going sort of full circle, like what we were saying earlier, I think this is why we are being linked with players like Mbeumo, Eze, Kudos, because they are the kind of players that are going to make that run and be driving forces that he's going to be able to find. There's no point in him even finding someone like Brennan Johnson because he can't beat his man anyway. So unless he's put it on the plate, back post, open net, he ain't doing it. So for me, this is where I think Frank isn't stupid, and I believe he said, look, I need players that are going to A, make those runs, B, be able to beat their man. So when we do get it, not only are they thinking of, like when Maddison's got time on the ball, under Ange with his tactics and these players, say, for example, Brennan Johnson makes a run, you can almost guarantee that the defender's not going to bother because he knows he ain't going to do anything when he does get it. Whereas if you bring in somebody that's a threat, it opens up the space for Maddison. And then it's like a lot of people will complain that he weren't taking those shots from outside the area. Well, if you get better wingers and the wing backs don't invert so much, it gives him more space, more opportunities to take those shots that we've all know he's got in his locker. So for me, again, going full circle, I think that the wingers are so vital also to James Maddison's style and play. For me, I think he's going to be fantastic under Frank as long as we get the wingers to back him up.
But this is the important point about Maddison, right? If the chat are right and they're sticking to it and saying, look, he's injury prone, he doesn't have that many minutes in him, fine. But this is where the club, and this is where Levy's said about what he wants and what we're going to achieve. This is where we need to buy someone in the same ilk as Maddison if he can't play 65 minutes, right? There's no point having a creative player if that's the only thing you've got and you've got no fallback. You've got to have someone else in that position. That's the whole point. We talk about backups, and I hate the word backup, basically you need 2 players in every position, not one as a backup, but you one that's fighting for that position, one that's fighting the other person week in, week out, because they want to start the match, right? That's the kind of competition you want in a team that makes your team better. Not just someone sitting on the bench going, well, I might play this week if he gets injured, or I might play this week. That's not what you want. You want someone to challenge him for those positions. And I think Maddison needs someone to challenge him, because then it might give him that extra little boost that he needs to be maybe not get injured so often and not do this. Because at the moment, he's got nothing. No, there's no one on his back basically saying, I'm the same as you. I want your position. He's there, isn't he?
I agree. But by the way, Cole, I like comments like this. I think you've got to go and do your homework, which is what I do. The injury concerns apply to Maddison. Just a quick note. Last year, James Maddison played 20 more games of football than Christian Romero. Right? Last season, he played 20 more games of football than Christian Romero. In the 4 seasons that Christian Romero has been at Tottenham, in the same time, James Maddison's played 40 more games in that time frame than Christian Romero. So when you're talking about, if you're going to use injuries for Maddison, now double that. Maddison's there, Romero's there. So again, you've got to do your research on that, mate. He's played 45 games this season, James Maddison, and Christian Romero managed 26. So you've got to, listen, you've got to do your homework on that one, I'm afraid. Sorry guys, I like it. If you go into a gunfight, take a gun, don't take a knife, take the facts with you. I think it's really, really important. Last one I want to talk about before we wrap up for the night, guys. Dominic Solanke. It's a guy that he's all right. Frank mentioned him by name, said, I like him, the way he plays. Does that rule out a striker? Do we think we're going to get someone else in to back him up? Are we going to get rid of Richie? What's going on with the striker situation? And we'll talk about that for 5 and then we'll end the show.
I think we need one. I think Richie, it's time to, if someone wants Richie, I think we let him go. We need something different. I think they're quite similar in the way that they are. I don't think either of them can hold a ball up. And listen, just before we go on, I'm not trying to butter Sean Butler up or get in his good books or anything like that. But I'm on the same page with Sean. I think Solanke has been underutilized as a player. When he was at Bournemouth, they found a way to utilise him and get the best out of him, and he scored 19 goals.
It's not what I said, Alex. It's not what he said. It's not what he said. It's not. This is not what I said. You've got to use these, 2 of these. That's not what I said.
But under Ange's system, I don't think we utilised him nowhere near enough in the qualities that he did have. I think we made him try and hold the ball up too much, which he wasn't great. Any striker that scores, nowhere near enough goals, but he's a great worker. I mean, that's just an excuse, right, for someone that's not scoring enough.
I 65
million. But I'm quite happy. Yeah, he works hard. Yeah, he works hard. But I'm quite happy if he stays. I don't think we'll get rid of him. And I'm quite happy if Frank wants to find a way to utilise his strengths. And if he can, and he scores 15 goals next season, so be it. He's turned him back into a striker. So let's see how that pans out.
Can I ask James, Luke, Solanke's had that one good year in his career, which was 2 years ago for Bournemouth. Is he, in your opinion, guys, is he a natural goal scorer? Because when I watch him, I never feel like he's going to get the ball out and get the shot away. I always feel like there's something going on. Do you know what I mean? Like I always feel like he wants to do all the rest of it, but hasn't got that clinical instinct. What do you guys think?
Go on, James.
So I've said it earlier with Brian. I'm not going to judge Solanke until this season because I think the Angepostecoglou system had him playing CDM most weeks. So for me, I can't judge a striker when they're playing centre back every game. Having said that, this is the last season that I give him to not make an impact because you can't do what he did last year. He did have chance after chance and fluffed majority of them as well. So it's not like, he didn't get any chances at all, but he buried the ones that he did get. He missed a fair few. But for me personally, I think this is his last season, and you've got to be cutthroat. Again, I'm not opposed. To be honest, I'm not opposed to any single player in the squad leaving. I'm really not.
I agree.
If we've got someone lined up, I went and had a look at the young French lad that you were saying about, Savva. He looks like a good player. He looks like he knows where the back of the net is, and that for me is what I like in a striker. So I think it depends if Frank is going to play wingers, but almost like overlapping and like last men, and then dropping him just in front, i.e., what Son did with Harry Kane a few years ago. If he's going to do that, then maybe Solanke's got a position in the formation. But other than that, I think he's going to find it hard. I think he can't miss as many chances as he does and get away with it, and not even miss chances. I think that it's it's the basics of football. Knowing when to, they always say a good striker knows when to shoot or knows when to lay the ball off. I don't think he does.
No, I listen. I completely agree with you. As I said, when I watched players like Jermaine Defoe play up front, by the way, notice I've not gone to Klinsmann, I've not gone to the Sheringham's, I've not gone to the Berbatovs. When I watched a player like Jermaine Defoe, he knew his surroundings. When he got the ball, it didn't matter what team he was playing. All of this, but he hasn't got service. He wasn't got in a good team. Jermaine Defoe played in some teams that weren't very good, but he'd get the ball. And he would get the ball. He knows up there what he's going to do. Am I going right? Am I going left? I'm going to shuffle it out my feet. I am having a crack. And 9 times out of 10, he works the keeper as a minimum, and the rest he scores goals. I watch Solanke, and I never, ever, when he gets the ball, I don't know about you lot. Do any of you ever get excited? Do you ever think this is rifling in the bottom corner? I just think, he's going to give it away or something.
Out of all of last season, he did that once. And I think it was against Villa or United. I'm not sure.
I think it was
Villa.
Where he beat a man, took on another man, and then put it in the bottom corner. What was that? United? I think it was United.
Oh, sorry, United. Yeah, I remember he scored a good one against Villa and a good one against United. But
I think that is the only time I've went, God, that was nice. Other than that, it was very. I don't know. I'm a bit old school. There's none of this anime celebrations. It's like he puts more effort in the old mask celebrations with a cup. I feel like it's more petty online stuff than actually worrying about the actual game.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I agree with you. What I'm just trying to say in defence of what I was saying about seeing Solanke next season is that I don't think he was receiving the balls in the areas that allowed him to do that.
Yeah,
he was receiving it far too deep. Now, if he gets a different tune out, Frank gets a different tune out of him, then I think we have wingers that can take on their man, and he can turn into a bit like a Kane, where Kane was like, I'm in the box, just put the ball across, I'll find the space to get into and tap that into the net. If he does that 10 times, 12, 15 times next season, I don't care if he's taking on a man or shooting from the away box. At the end of the day, goals go in, right? It's getting your tally up. That's all that. Sure. You know, he could be a Gary Lineker, right? Be a tapping merchant from 5 yards. I couldn't care less. If he's putting the goals in, he's doing a job. That's exactly what we want him to do.
But Lee, when he did get in those positions, did he put the ball in the back of the net? That is my.
There was a few times where he was right in front of goal, and he put it straight into the keeper's hands or straight at the keeper. I get that. But you're always going to get a few. If you gave him 100 chances though, like that, and he'd probably score more. If you only give him 5 and he scores 2 and misses 3, then it's going to look bad, isn't it?
I don't think he's the type of striker that has one chance a game and scores it. I don't think he's that sort of striker. Like we're used to seeing Kane where he gets half a chance and it's a goal and that's it. So I don't think he's that sort of striker. I think it's a little bit of both. I think last year for Bournemouth, I don't think he missed the Premier League game. He then come in, he missed the second game, then he was out with a knee injury. And I'm not making excuses. I think he's a bit of a momentum player. And if he scores in the first couple, and when I looked at his goals for Bournemouth as well, he was not saying physically, but in terms of his ability in the air, he scored some brilliant headers of the ball. And that weren't what we done. Pedro Porro is the only player in the team that crosses the ball. Everyone else runs to the byline and it's like more like cutbacks. So I think that it's a little bit of both. I think he needs a run. But again, he's one of them players. We said it earlier. We've got to do this in stages. He's not someone that I think needs to go out the door now, because I think he can probably get you top 8, top 6. When you start wanting to go top 4 and challenging, then it's probably someone that needs to come in. But Richie, again, it's just availability. I think when he's available, he's actually a nuisance. He's a bit of a nightmare. If you're a centre back, you don't want to be playing against Richie. You don't know if he's going to kick you in the face, head, but yeah, you've got no idea what he's doing. He don't know. So, but I think he's just so unavailable. But is he ever going to go? The only place that makes sense is Everton. He don't want to go out to Saudi. It's a World Cup year, and somehow or another, he seems to be Brazil's 9. So
it's mad, isn't it?
I don't see how.
When you say that, it doesn't. Imagine.
Oh, how the mighty have fallen.
Imagine you fell asleep, right, in that era of like the 2000s when Ronaldo was up front and they had Denilson and Rivaldo and Kaká and Ronaldinho. Imagine you fell asleep into a coma and then you woke up now and someone went, World Cup year, right? Who's playing up front for us? That
Lionel
guy.
Richie.
You'd be like, what has happened? Like, what happened to Brazilian football? Can I just say, I want to wrap up the show. I've got a couple of super chats to do. I just want to get the panel's prediction quickly. For me, I've never been a fan. I didn't want us to sign him. I keep saying I'm underwhelmed when I'm contradicting myself. I'm not underwhelmed. What's the opposite to underwhelmed? Whelmed? Is whelmed the opposite to underwhelmed? Don't know. This is exactly what I thought we were going to get. I thought we were going to get a striker who had a purple patch for Bournemouth, but his all-round game isn't good enough. And I think you make a good point there. I think if you want to get back into the top 8, Solanke could be your guy. I think if you want to get top 4, let's see what he does in the Champions League. For me, I'll start. For me, he's got to get 20-25 in all competitions this season. He's playing in 4 competitions. I need to see a minimum of 16, 17 league goals and then Cups, Champions League. That's 20-25 for me. What about you?
Yeah, boys? I think he gets 15 to 18 in the Prem. I think is a respectable thing. Obviously, depending on injuries and everything else. So I'd agree. I think if he gets around a 25 mark in all competitions, I think it's been a decent season. But again, I don't think he's going to be a top 4 striker regardless. So I think it is someone that within a couple of years you need to look to go a level above.
I see you, Jacob. I see you in my chat, Jacob. I see you. Stop it, Jacob. Come on, new era. Stop it. So yeah, I agree with you. I agree. James Solanke, what's he got to do next year for you?
If I'm honest, if both of our strikers are fully fit, he shouldn't be playing. I think Richarlison's better than Solanke, if I'm being honest. So yeah, well, he's got a big point to prove. He needs to be getting 20 Premier League goals next season, to be honest. Otherwise, he needs to be sold at the end of that season. We can't keep having sympathy players and he works hard. It needs to be 20 Premier League goals at least.
There you go, 20 Premier League goals. Lee, what has he got to do next year to justify this price tag?
Yeah, no, he's got to be consistent, right? He's got to score goals. Listen, I think the striker position is a real big issue for us. I don't think either of our strikers are up to the level that we need to be for Champions League football. It's as simple as that. Agree. So either one of them's got to step up because we can't go for another season where we've got strikers that work hard. It's not what they're employed for, right? So, either the club needs to do something about it or they need to find a way to utilise him so that he gets the numbers that you guys are spouting. I mean, I don't think I'd go up to 18. I don't think he's got it in him. But there we go. We'll see.
This is why when I did the research, we are going to in the show now, guys, but when I did the research yesterday on this Calamundo striker, I was watching the videos of him, and yeah, it's dangerous to do that, right? I want to see him play live and stuff, but all of his goals were him driving at centre backs, him running at fullbacks and getting shots away. And what I liked about him, I thought he was a bit Jermaine Defoe-esque. Or if you ever listen, I'm sure you will watch Jermaine Defoe. Jermaine Defoe was one of the best I've ever seen at going across the goalkeeper. You could tell he'd worked on it. He literally, and that game against Wigan where he got 5, all 5 were the same goal. Literally, so his first touch takes him away from the centre back, bang, right across the goalkeeper. Bottom, you don't save them. When I was watching this Calamundo thing, he's either getting into the box, 6-yard box, right place, right time, or he was getting those low shots across goal. And I'm just using him as an example, by the way. I'm not saying, oh my God, this has to be the one guy that we buy. But I think we need that, guys. I think we need a bit of a smaller, quicker, more diminutive striker, right, that wants to get shots away. And at the moment, we've got, I think the Champions League final summed up our two centre forwards. You had Richie, who did a brilliant job of being a shithouse, right? Shithousery. And Solanke, who I thought was utterly atrocious in that final. Got that one chance through on goal, and I just went, this ain't going in. Like there was nothing. So look, that's for me. We'll see. It's going to be what Thomas Frank wants.
Would you play Johnson there then? Is Johnson out more over the other two? You wouldn't play Johnson up front. You'd rather Solanke or Richie?
Not on his own.
I think Johnson will only play in a 2. I think if he played 3-5-2, I think he might get a bit, but I don't think he plays up front on his.
Frank likes to pivot to 2 up front. I think he could play just behind Solanke, running in behind him.
Yeah.
If he holds it up, and I think he's got that in him, absolutely. But still not the levels at what we need, right?
Agree. I think the thing is as well, he's not a good enough footballer, Lee. Brennan Johnson, this is the thing. What James started the show by saying this. What Brennan Johnson does is a skill. Getting into those unmarked areas, ball gets pulled back, he scores goals. I'll never knock him for that. As a footballer, he's dreadful. So if you play a guy up front where he's got to hold up the ball, he's got to link up with 1-2s, right? He's got to out muscle centre backs. That is never happening. So I don't know. I'm not with him.
Listen, I'll say this to everyone in the chat that was, because I've seen there's quite a few of them that have been bigging up Johnson. I wish, I know that if you are bigging up Johnson, you've never been and watched him. I just wish you to go to the stadium and watch that guy play a game of football. Your opinion of him will change in seconds. Because I was the same. I was like, well, come on, guys, give him some benefit. He gets goals, blah, blah, blah. I went to a couple of games this season. I don't get to go often, but I went to a couple of games this season. He played both games. And I'm a youth coach, and I like to coach, but I like to watch managers and players when I'm watching. I break matches down when I'm watching them rather than just being there for the atmosphere as well. It's a bit of a stigma for me, but it is what it is because I like to learn. I've never seen such a lazy player in all my life. He gets all the credit for the tap-ins. It's what he doesn't do off the ball that actually, I was head in my hands every time. Porro must hate whenever his Porro was picked up the team sheet and saw him in front of him, he'd be like, well, I'm on my own again this today. I've got no cover. He's so lazy. He's such a lazy player. His positioning is bad. He doesn't track back enough. And then when he does track back once in 90 minutes, he's world class again. It's absolute madness. You've got to watch him for 90 minutes to understand how bad a player he is.
I think there are certain positions on the pitch where you can get away with scoring a tap in and doing nothing else in 90 minutes. On the right hand side, what we're basically saying when he plays out there on the right is whoever the left back is of the opposition has got a free day, doesn't have to do anything. And that every time, whenever Brendan Johnson gets the ball on the right, I always go, well, that's the move ended. That's the move ended. But listen, guys, I do want to wrap up the show. I really do. Big up to George, who gifted 1 Football Heritage TV membership. Always very, very generous in here, George. Thank you very much for that. He's a channel member. He's a mod, and he's always giving away things to other people. So thank you very much. And I'm sure whoever you gave that to has said thank you. So thank you very much. Not that I'm a teacher and have to tell people to say thank you. And Ian JD, thank you very much. Very generous here. And I hope you're well, my friend. Said the midfield should be our biggest priority. Sit the back line back 10 yards and we'll concede less. A well-coached midfield will protect the back line and help bring the ball forward. And I'll tell you what, Ian, if someone had given Angepostecoglou that advice 2 years ago, he'd still be in a job. I can't agree with you more. It's not rocket science. Don't push everyone forward. Yeah, sit back a little bit and transition. But listen, Ian, thank you. That is very, very generous, my friend. Just before we go, just going to say there's 450 of you still in here. This link here is for Luke. Please, can we please be nice? Let's show some kindness over here. He's 90 away from 1,000. So we've only managed to get him about 30, sound like 35. Come on, we're better than that. Before you go, smash that button. Please subscribe to him. He's a great guy. He's doing his thing. Listen, Luke, thank you very much. Lee, thank you very much. James, thank you very much. Really appreciate you all. And let's hope that Spurs' transfer window kicks into gear very, very soon. The old have gone. The new are now here. Let's get going. Take care. Thank you very much. And as always, come on, You Spurs.